My beloved child. Before you even clicked on this message, something inside you already knew that this is not random. This is not just another story. This is something deeply connected to your soul, because the truth you are about to hear is something they never said out loud, something they kept hidden behind silence, behind distance, behind those moments when they looked at you and quickly looked away as if their heart almost exposed them, but they weren't ready yet. And here is the ultra truth that will shake you. Your soulmate has already made a decision about marrying you, not someday in the future, not maybe if things work out, but a quiet, powerful, irreversible decision deep inside their heart. And the reason you feel this strange pull, this emotional tension, this confusion mixed with hope is because their soul has already chosen you while their mind is still trying to catch up. And you must understand this carefully, because if you misread the signs, you might think they are pulling away when in reality they are stepping back only to gather the courage to step forward stronger than ever before. And yes, I know what you've been thinking. Why are they silent? Why do they act normal sometimes and distant at other times? Why do they not just come and say it clearly? Why do they make you feel like everything is uncertain when your heart keeps telling you that this connection is not ordinary? And the answer is deeper than you expect, because when a person realizes that someone is not just a passing chapter but their entire future, fear does not disappear, it multiplies, it becomes louder, it makes them question everything about themselves, their worth, their readiness, their ability to protect and keep you. And this is exactly where they are right now, standing at the edge of a life-changing decision they have already made emotionally but are still learning how to express in reality. And this is why you feel delays, pauses, strange behavior, because they are not deciding whether to marry you anymore. That decision is already done. They are now deciding how to become the version of themselves that deserves you forever. And that journey is not easy. It requires them to confront their past, their insecurities, their fears of commitment, their fear of losing you, and even their fear of actually having you, because having you means everything becomes real. There is no more hiding, no more pretending, no more running. And that level of reality scares people who are not yet fully healed. But listen carefully, because this is where your role becomes powerful, not by chasing, not by forcing, not by questioning them again and again, but by understanding the silence correctly, because their silence is not absence, it is preparation. Their distance is not rejection, it is internal transformation. And every time you doubted yourself, thinking maybe they don't feel the same, maybe they are confused, maybe they are choosing someone else, the truth is far more intense than that, because they already chose you in a way that even they cannot undo. And that is why they cannot fully walk away, no matter how hard they try, no matter how much they distract themselves, no matter how much they pretend to be okay without you. Something keeps pulling them back. Something keeps reminding them of you in the quiet moments, in the late nights, in the middle of their busy days, when your memory suddenly interrupts everything. And this is not coincidence, this is connection. This is what happens when two souls are aligned beyond logic. And yes, they might not be showing it clearly right now, they might even act like nothing is happening, but inside them a decision has already been sealed, a future has already been imagined, a life with you has already been felt deeply. And that is why their behavior seems inconsistent, because they are living in two worlds at once. One where they have already chosen you, and one where they are still trying to become ready for you. And this creates confusion not only for them but also for you. But you must not let that confusion make you lose your clarity, because the moment you start doubting your worth, the moment you start lowering your standards just to keep them close, you interfere with the very process that is pushing them to rise up for you. And this is where most people make a mistake. They think love means holding tighter, asking more questions, demanding answers, but real soul connections require trust in the unseen, strength in the silence, and patience in the unfolding, because what is happening right now is not a simple love story, it is a transformation story, both for you and for them, and while you are learning to trust your intuition, they are learning to trust their decision, and these two journeys are moving toward each other even if it doesn't look like it on the surface, and I need you to understand something very important. The fact that they haven't said it yet does not mean they haven't decided it. Some decisions are too powerful to be spoken casually. They require time, alignment, and inner certainty before they are expressed, and your soulmate is in that phase right now, building the courage, aligning their life, preparing their reality to match the decision they have already made in their heart, and this is why things feel slow. But slow does not mean stagnant. Slow often means deep, and deep things take time. Because they are meant to last, and you must not rush what is meant to be permanent, because if they rushed it without being ready, it would break under pressure, but because they are taking their time, because they are working on themselves silently, when they finally step forward, it will not be temporary. It will not be uncertain, it will be strong, clear, and undeniable. And you will look back at this phase and realize that what felt like confusion was actually preparation, what felt like distance was actually alignment, and what felt like silence was actually a decision being built quietly but powerfully behind the scenes. And yes, I know you still have questions. I know you still wonder when, how, and what will happen next, and that curiosity is natural. But do not let it turn into anxiety, because anxiety will make you act in ways that disrupt the natural flow of this connection. And instead of pulling them closer, it might push them further into their fear, so remain grounded. Remain patient. Remain aware of your own value, because the moment you fully stand in your worth, you make it easier for them to step into theirs. And this is not about waiting endlessly, this is about trusting wisely, observing carefully, and allowing things to unfold without losing yourself in the process. Because you are not here to beg for love, you are here to receive a love that has already chosen you. Even if it has not yet been spoken out loud, and the moment they finally gather the courage to express what they have been feeling all along, it will not be a surprise to your soul, it will feel like a confirmation of something you always knew deep inside, and that is why this message found you today, not to create false hope, not to make you dependent on someone else's actions, but to remind you that some connections operate beyond logic, beyond timing, beyond surface behavior, and if you are experiencing this deep knowing that something bigger is happening beneath the silence, then trust it, because your soulmate's decision is already made, and everything you are witnessing right now is simply the process of that decision becoming reality. And now you are beginning to notice something even more intense, something that feels almost contradictory, because while their silence once confused you, now it starts to reveal patterns, subtle shifts, small signs that something deeper is moving beneath the surface. And this is where most people either panic or they awaken. Because what happens next is not obvious unless you are paying attention with your intuition instead of just your expectations, and the truth is their quiet decision about marrying you has now entered a second phase, a phase where it begins to influence their actions even if they are still not openly expressing it, and you may have already seen glimpses of this without fully understanding what it means, like the way they check on you indirectly. The way they suddenly reappear after creating distance, the way their energy feels different when they are around you, as if they are holding back something powerful, something they are not ready to reveal yet. And this is not random behavior, this is internal conflict meeting external reality, because when someone has already decided that you are the one they want to build a life with, they cannot completely detach from you, but at the same time, if they are not fully ready, they cannot fully step in either. So they exist in this middle space, this uncomfortable zone where their heart is pulling them forward and their fears are holding them back, and this is why you feel inconsistency. But what you must understand is that inconsistency is not always a sign of disinterest. Sometimes it is a sign of internal transformation happening faster than external expression, and your soulmate is going through exactly that. They are replaying conversations, analyzing moments, thinking about things you said weeks or even months ago, trying to understand you on a deeper level, because when someone is preparing for something as serious as marriage, they don't just think emotionally, they think practically. They start asking themselves questions like, can I truly build a life with this person? Can I protect this connection? Can I grow with them? Can I handle the responsibility that comes with loving them fully? And these questions are not light. They require deep reflection, and while they are doing this, you might feel like nothing is happening, but inside them everything is shifting. Everything is being rearranged to align with the decision they already made, and this is where your patience becomes a test, not of waiting for them but of maintaining your own clarity while they go through their process, because if you lose your center now, if you start reacting emotionally to every small change in their behavior, you risk creating pressure that could delay their progress even more. And I know that might be difficult to hear, because part of you wants certainty, part of you wants them to just come forward and say it clearly, to remove all the confusion, to give you reassurance. But the reality is some people need to reach that level of clarity within themselves before they can offer it to someone else, and forcing that process never works. It only creates resistance, and this is why your role is not to control the outcome but to stay aligned with your own value, to observe without overreacting, to feel without losing your balance, because the more stable you are, the more safe they will feel to finally step into their truth. And something else is happening that you might not have realized yet. They are imagining a future with you in very specific ways, not just general feelings of love but detailed visions of what life could look like, the kind of home, the kind of conversations, the kind of partnership. And this is a clear sign that their decision has moved beyond emotion into intention. And once intention is formed, action eventually follows. But again, timing depends on their readiness, not just their feelings. And this is why you must not mistake delay for denial, because delay is often a sign that something important is being built carefully instead of rushed carelessly. And yes, there might be moments where you feel like giving up, moments where you think maybe this is all in your head. Maybe you should just move on and stop waiting for something that is not guaranteed. And those thoughts are part of your own process, your own growth, because this connection is not only transforming them, it is transforming you as well. It is teaching you how to trust yourself, how to hold your value, how to not settle for less even when things are uncertain. And that is a powerful lesson, because when they finally come forward, you will not be the same person who once doubted everything. You will be stronger, clearer, more grounded. And that is exactly the version of you that can sustain the kind of relationship they are preparing for. And I want you to notice something very important. Despite everything, despite the silence, despite the distance, despite the confusion, They have not completely disappeared from your life. There is still a connection, still a thread that keeps bringing them back into your awareness, and that is not something you should ignore, because when someone has truly decided to walk away, they create a clean break. But when someone has decided to stay, even silently, they remain connected in ways that cannot be easily explained, and this is exactly what is happening here. They are still connected to you because their decision has already tied them to your future in a way they cannot undo, and now they are simply working through everything that stands between where they are and where they want to be with you, and that includes their fears, their past experiences, their current circumstances, and even their own self-doubt. And while they are doing all of this, you might feel like you are in the dark, but you are not. You are actually being given an opportunity to grow into your own power without depending on their immediate validation, and that is something that will benefit you not just in this connection but in every aspect of your life. And as this phase continues, you will start to see clearer signs, more direct actions, moments where they cannot hide their feelings as easily as before. Because eventually the internal pressure of holding everything inside becomes too strong, and when that happens, they will have no choice but to express what they have been keeping hidden. And when that moment arrives, it will not be small, it will not be casual, it will be something that changes the direction of this connection completely. And you will understand why everything had to unfold the way it did, why the silence was necessary, why the delay was important, why the confusion was part of the process. Because it was never about whether they would choose you. That decision was already made. It was always about when they would be ready to show you that choice in a way that is real, stable, and lasting. And now you are entering the most critical phase of this entire journey, the moment where everything that has been hidden, delayed, and silently built begins to surface in ways that cannot be ignored anymore, because a decision held inside the heart for too long eventually demands expression. It reaches a point where silence becomes heavier than truth, and your soulmate is approaching that exact threshold right now, whether you can see it clearly or not, because what started as a quiet emotional realization has now transformed into something far more powerful, something that is beginning to reshape their behavior, their priorities, and even the way they see their own future. And this is why you may start noticing a shift that feels different from before, not just small signs or indirect actions, but moments of clarity breaking through the confusion, moments where they come closer without overthinking, moments where their words carry more weight, more intention, more truth than ever before. And it might still not be perfect, it might still not be exactly how you imagined it, but it will be real, and real is what matters. Because when someone finally aligns their actions with a decision they have been carrying silently, there is a kind of energy that cannot be faked, a kind of certainty that cannot be misunderstood, and you will feel it, not just in what they say, but in how they show up, in how consistent they become, in how their presence no longer feels uncertain but grounded and intentional. And this is where everything changes, not just for them but for you as well, because all the patience, all the self-control, all the moments where you chose not to react out of fear but to stay aligned with your worth, they all start to make sense. They all start to reveal their purpose, because you were not just waiting, you were preparing, you were becoming the version of yourself that could meet this moment without losing balance, without questioning your value, without settling for anything less than what you truly deserve. And this is why this phase is so important, because if you respond to it from a place of insecurity, from a place of, finally they came back, so I have to hold on no matter what. You risk undoing everything that has been built so far. But if you respond from a place of strength, clarity, and self-respect, you allow this connection to solidify in a way that is healthy, mutual, and lasting. And I need you to understand something very clearly. When they finally express their decision about marrying you, it will not just be words, it will be backed by actions, by changes, by a visible effort to align their life with you. And that is the difference between someone who is unsure and someone who has already decided. Because uncertainty creates excuses, but decision creates movement, and your soulmate is moving toward that point now, even if slowly, even if imperfectly, they are moving, and you will see it, you will feel it, and when it happens, you must not rush to fill every gap with your own expectations. You must allow things to unfold naturally, allow them to prove their decision through consistency over time, because real commitment is not shown in one big moment. It is shown in repeated actions that remain steady even when the excitement settles. And this is where your awareness becomes your greatest strength, because you will be able to recognize whether what they are offering is truly aligned with the decision they made or just a temporary emotional expression. And based on everything that has been building in this connection, it is not temporary. It is something they have thought about deeply, something they have wrestled with internally, something they did not arrive at lightly. And that is why when it finally comes out, it will carry a weight that feels different from anything before, and you will no longer have to question where you stand, because their actions will answer that for you without confusion, without mixed signals, without silence replacing clarity. And this is the moment where your journey and their journey finally begin to meet in reality, where everything that was once internal becomes external, where everything that was once felt becomes expressed, and where everything that was once uncertain becomes clear. But even in this moment, you must remember that a strong foundation is built not just on love but on understanding, communication, and mutual growth. And this connection has already gone through the phase of testing your patience, your trust, and your self-worth. And now it is moving into a phase where it will test your ability to receive, to accept love without fear, to trust consistency without overanalyzing, and to build something real without holding on to the past confusion. Because if you keep looking back at how things were, you might miss how much they have changed, and growth must be recognized in order to continue. And this is why your role now is not to question the past but to observe the present, to see who they are becoming, to see how they show up, to see whether their actions align with the future they are now ready to create with you. And if they do, then allow yourself to step into that future without resistance, without fear, without the need to control every detail. Because what is meant to be built between you does not require force, it requires alignment, and alignment is exactly what has been forming through every phase you have gone through together, even when it did not look like it, even when it felt uncertain, even when you thought nothing was happening. Everything was happening beneath the surface, and now it is ready to rise, ready to take form, ready to become something real, something tangible. Something you can finally experience instead of just feeling intuitively. And when that moment fully arrives, you will realize something that changes everything. That the decision they made about marrying you was never the real question. The real question was whether both of you would grow enough to meet that decision in a way that could last. And now the answer to that question is finally unfolding right in front of you.